Welcome into a very exciting episode of The Scene. Today I'm joined by Zach Farmer from the band Whiskey Burn. Welcome to the show, Zach.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Before we get too far into the interview, why don't you go ahead and tell us who Whiskey Burn is and what you guys do?
Yeah, for sure. Whiskey Burn, we're out of St. Paul. We've been around for almost 6 years together. I play drums in the band. We have pretty unique sound, I like to think. I was listening to the last episode or one of the last episodes with Steve about being like genreless and just playing music, and that's kind of what we try and do. We all come from different backgrounds as far as like I have a big like punk and metal background with playing drums. Guitar player is big blues, southern rock background. Singer is that like grunge, post-grunge background, and bass player is actually a big country influence. So kind of we melted all those together to create our sound, and it's been a blast so far.
Yeah, that's killer, man. I used to call what I do, I am a songwriter myself. I used to call it rockabilly reggae funk. And then when I realized that was too much of a mouthful, now I go by modern gypsy rock. And it's exactly that, man. I've traveled all over. I listen to everything. You know, I got stuff that's influenced by EDM music, right? But I think lately I'd never called myself country before, and now I've kind of accepted the title just because music and genres and things have all changed, right? Country music is where you find the storytellers, and that's what I've always done with my music. And the bounds of country music have kind of been stretched to include a lot of stuff that would be considered rock music even 10 years ago. So it's a good time to be a country musician. They got a good thing going on, it seems like, and we're all kind of riding that rock country wave. I mean, from the top guys all the way through. Nobody's playing traditional. I mean, maybe minus Charlie Crockett or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's a great time for music to be a listener and as a musician. I think a lot of people right now have a lot of stories that want to be told and need to be heard. And when you're creating music, and you know, that's basically what you're trying to do, is just get your story out there through music. And I think we've done a pretty good job formulating songs that hit that. And it's a ton of fun creating music with these guys and being able to play shows with other local musicians that are like-minded.
Well, let's talk about the songwriting process a little bit. I mean, everybody coming from their own backgrounds, you're going to have, I'm assuming everybody has had at least a dabble in writing their own material and kind of getting that expression out there. So are you creating all together, or are people kind of bringing in ideas and things are evolving in the rehearsal space, or what's your process like? Yeah,
so it actually is quite a bit of a melting pot of all the above. I would say the songs that I would say most of the time what happens is our lead guitar player Mike, he'll come to rehearsal and he'll say, hey, I got this lick, and he'll get the lick down, and I'll be like, ooh, that sounds good. And then on the drums I'll kind of lay something to that, and we'll play that lick over and over again. And then bass player will come in, and then rhythm guitar will come in with something. Then we kind of take a break and we look over at our vocalist, and he's on his phone thumbing through his notes, thinking about what's going to fit, because he's got piles and piles of lyrics down. You know, he's really good at writing from his experiences and his life, which is awesome. You know, some of the songs can get pretty dark if you really dive into the lyrics, but that's totally fine, because that's what's therapeutic to him and getting his story out there, and we're just putting a soundtrack to it. So I would say most of the time we kind of get together, guitar player will come with a lick, and then we kind of build off of that. Sometimes it just happens. Like our guitar player, before we recorded our EP, came into rehearsal and said, hey, what do you think about this intro for one of our songs, What You Got Hiding? And we all kind of looked at each other and were like, no, man, that's a whole different song. And probably about 15 minutes later, we came up with another song. So it's kind of fun when those things happen like that too.
Organic.
Yeah.
it just grows out of us, right? That's the beautiful thing
Yeah.
about being a musician, being a songwriter, and having a group like that. That's one thing that I've experienced a little bit recently. I've never really written with other people, but got to go in the studio actually just a few days ago before I left the Rapid City, South Dakota area, and in the studio with two good friends of mine, and to just lay down some songs that I've been holding on to for like 20 years. Right? You know,
Yeah.
I'm 38. I've been hanging on to some of these songs for a long time and never really just found the right situation, right? Found the right place to let these things kind of breathe. And even just getting, you know, really just got the bass tracks down, but got the bass tracks to 5 songs where it's like, okay, cool. Now I have something to work on, right? Like now we have a goal and can build it from that. And seeing how with all of my different friends that I'm going to invite in to play guitar on different things and to sing on this or that, like it's that experience just differently, right? Like instead of being all in the room together, like we're all just laying what we do on tape and then kind of leaving it and being able to let each person come to that project totally without any kind of input from me or otherwise, other than like, here's this song and here's the chords.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's the best part. You know, like you said, you're having all these friends come in, like we're all friends, and like being able to do this and create the music together is so much fun. Like to be able to look at each other when we're working through a song and, you know, our rhythm guitar player maybe throws in like just a little tweak or a little lick to kind of emphasize something. We all look at each other with those raised eyebrows and a big smile. Like it's so much fun.
Really is the best, man. And now you get to go out and celebrate a little bit. You guys got a big show coming up January 10th at Zhora Darling. That's right downtown in Minneapolis. Why don't you tell us about the show?
Yeah, so we're going to be opening up the show. We are playing with some good friends of ours, Kane and Company, really good Southern rock blues musicians. They do not shy away from being loud and in your face and throwing guitar solos left and right with some good lyrics and some feel-good blues and Southern rock. And then we got Cole Diamond, who's headlining the show. He's been running around St. Paul and Minneapolis for a little bit now. I think he either just played Turf Club or is about to play Turf Club. So pretty fortunate to get on that lineup. Thank you to Kane and Company for bringing us on that one. Yeah, it starts at 7. You can get your tickets online at zoradarling.com, or you can get them at the door.
Yeah, that sounds like my kind of show.
Yeah.
There's some days I definitely wish that I didn't live 5 hours out of the cities, right? But
sure.
then I go there for a weekend and I drive through the traffic one time and I'm like, take me back to my farm town. I'm good.
Yep, absolutely.
If you need me, call me.
Yeah, we feel that way too. Yeah, definitely. You know, we're trying to get out as much as we can. We're going to be heading back into the studio, I think, in February. So we're going to try and put together a full length. We have an EP on Spotify right now called Where We Come From. And so that's on Spotify or anywhere you stream music. We recorded that. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Honey Dogs? Do you remember the Honey Dogs from St.
No,
Paul?
I'm down. So a little bit about me. I actually live out in Tyndall, South Dakota, which is southwest of Sioux Falls. Right. So I'm out here in the sticks. I actually grew up and most of my time spent around the Black Hills of South Dakota, which is another 5 hours west from here. So I'm pretty new to a lot of these Minnesota people, but I'm a member of the Midwest Country Music Organization, which got me working up there a little bit. Then you join some other Facebook groups, and I just like to talk to interesting people. Right. So it kind of just puts me in all these different pools, and you start throwing your scheduler's email out there for people, and you'd be surprised how busy you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great community. I think, you know, a lot of those Facebook pages, I mean, that's where I was able to connect with you. And, you know, we talked a little bit before recording about AJ and the review. And, you know, I've tried to connect with him, and we'll get some dates with him down. So maybe we'll run into each other in the future here.
Well, and we got some stuff coming up together in April. So just book some dates up there. I know I'm going to be around. So we'll definitely be talking. This is the connections I'm looking to make, right? To build more relationships with bands. And, when I'm up there, if you happen to be playing a show and I can jump on to open, that's great. That allows me to build my name where otherwise I wouldn't have one. And you talked about the interview with Steve. Well, now I'm one step away from the main stage at US Bank Stadium. So, and that's in my brain. That's how it works. It's like, man, if I can have a conversation with someone who's done that, then there's nothing stopping me from doing that. And I think broadcasting these episodes and putting it all out there is really, that's the beauty of this whole podcast thing. And people are just really starting to catch on to that. It's a connection. It's a way, I have 7 shows that I'm doing right now. I spend most of my life behind a microphone or a camera. And that's exactly the way that I like it, because in doing so, I'm making all my friends famous. And as they get famous, in their small groups, then that all kind of ripple effects, right? And we start building these massive waves. And Corey and AJ up there have a big influence on that. We ran into each other going the same direction, where it was like, oh, cool. Well, we'll just put our tracks together and we'll make a bigger engine, and we'll keep going down the same road. And he hooked me up with the Devin Worley band. They hooked me up with the cinematographer that filmed our songwriter showcase I was talking about back in December. Those episodes will be rolling out here in the new year. And yeah, man, well, we're in a really exciting time for especially Midwest music, it feels like. And I feel a lot of Minnesota bands, like, y'all have been locked down and in your houses. Like, that's a lot of the conversations that I have. Like, we didn't experience that in South Dakota. So that becomes a lot of the experience. And how many people, when they went inside for 2 years, essentially found music again. It's a very common conversation on this show with people who are especially in the cities, but just different worlds, man. And we're only a few hours apart.
I know. Yeah. We actually played a gig the night before they shut the state down. So we were like probably about halfway through our set, and you can kind of see the heads starting to turn and the news getting out and the rumblings that they were about to shut the state down. And it was, even then, while everybody was at the show, it was a weird feeling for that next hour and a half. But I tell you what, man, I'd give it up to the people that come out now, and like, people were hungry for live music again in the Midwest. And I think that goes to what you were saying. Like, they went in, they found music again, they found their love for music again. And as soon as things opened up, people got really hungry to go see live music again. And all these small little venues, 75, 100 capacity little bar venues that are around in St. Paul and Minneapolis are just filled with people on not even hot nights, not even hot weekend nights, midweek shows, they're filling up. So it's really great to see. And, like you said, music is all about the relationships and that connection that everyone has with a song. It could be for different meanings, but that's what you're doing with the podcast, is you're creating these relationships just like we create relationships with our songs. So it's awesome, man. I'm super happy that we were able to make this work, and I'm appreciative for you in doing this.
Yeah, no problem. It doesn't work without the other side reaching out, and how this, how this whole thing came about was because I was out there looking to promote my music last year, right? I'm releasing songs in the beginning part of the year, and I'm doing all this stuff to build up to the songs. And, if I want to get on the radio or do all this, they're like, well, show me the money. I'm like, man, I don't have the money to fork out to get this kind of attention that I need. And then realizing that podcasts were the vessel anyway, I did a friend's podcast with them as a guest, and then another one. And the second one I did with my partner, Dave Holly, who's co-hosted some of the shows on the program with me. And being in his studio just solidified it, right? Where it was like, I have all this equipment. There's no reason I shouldn't be doing this. He actually not gifted me, but he sold me very, very kindly the unit that we're recording on now, and that has completely changed my life, man. And it's $100 piece of equipment, right? Like it's and it's the microphones that were already sitting around in the house, not being used.
Right.
It's really easy to do, and that's kind of what I'm working on now. Is I'm writing a book, trying to teach people how to have the confidence to just get behind a microphone and start talking to your friends, right? And getting behind that and selling this idea, and we touched on a lot of the reasons why in our conversation. Like, this is how messages are delivered. They're a great way to make relationships. They are a great way to tap into new communities and to grow your network, and just like all the things, man. They're a genius level thing, and everybody can have one. Everybody can be broadcasting, not your whole life, but there's got to be something that you're passionate about. And I think that's what I'm about now, is finding other people's passions and turning them into something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely getting it out there. Like I said, I've listened to the episodes before, and you definitely convey that message well. And it's felt for sure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you listening, man. There's about to be a lot more, right? Like, there hasn't been a lot of people that have tuned in, and we don't have a ton of super fans right now. It's growing. So I appreciate you listening and being a part of the scene and just being yourself, man. Everybody bringing their self to this thing is what makes it work.
Yeah, 100%. That's what we try and do, and we try and put that out there in our music, and hopefully, if you don't like it, that's okay. We're not for everybody, and you came out, you listened. That's what we're about.
Go ahead and plug everything one more time, and make sure you talk about the show.
Right on. So you can find us at www.whiskey.burnmn.com. We're on all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram. Whiskey Burn MN. We're on Spotify, wherever you stream music. Our EP is out, called Where We Come From. We should be heading back into the studio this February to record a full length, and then we have our show with Kane and Company and Cole Diamond next Friday, January 10th at 7 o'clock at the great Zhora Darling in Minneapolis.
Awesome, man. Zach, thanks for being part of the scene.
Yeah, appreciate it. You have a good day.
Thanks for listening. Remember to follow The Scene Projects on all your social media channels and get even more content at thesceneprojects.com.